$2,400 per month increase for millions of Americans. New 2027 COLA estimates were just leaked. And if you are relying on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, you need to prepare right now. The numbers coming in from forecasters are shocking everyone, and what happens next could directly impact your monthly check. Everything is backed by official government figures and explained in plain, simple English. People who have used this guide have already caught Medicare overcharges, discovered Social Security money owed to them for years, and stopped paying taxes on benefits they should never have been taxed on in the first place. Grab the link in the description or pinned comment below, or scan the QR code right here on your screen. Now, let's get straight into it. A $2,400 Bernie bump Social Security increase is currently on the table and being pushed harder by Senator Bernie Sanders than ever before. And at the same time, of course, according to recent polling, all American voters, whether they're Republicans, whether they're Democrats, are also saying they approve of this bill. So, with that said, at this point in time in 2026, is there a bigger chance than normal for this bill to actually pass the Social Security Expansion Act? In today's video, we are going to be covering everything that you need to know. But first, before you buy anything else online, listen to this. You might just be leaving money on the table. See, right now, Capital One Shopping has a free shopping tool that can automatically search for coupon codes, find better prices, and help you save when you shop online. And right now, my referral link has an offer for an $80 bonus for all eligible new users. No purchase is required. So again, I'm going to be leaving a link in a pinned comment below as well as in the description box below. But as always, terms and conditions do apply. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and dive into it for today. So once again, Senator Bernie Sanders right now has a bill in Congress called the Social Security Expansion Act. If passed, what it would do is it would increase benefits across the board for everyone receiving Social Security by $200 per month or $2,400 per year. It would also increase the special minimum benefit to 25% above the federal poverty line, which would also work out to another increase of, potentially as much as $500 to $700 extra every single month for those currently receiving the special minimum benefit. Also on top of that, according to recent polling, we've polled Republicans, we've also polled Democrats, and both sides are firmly behind this idea. This increase of $200 plus actually taxing those earning above $250,000 per year to make this possible. So, we're going to go ahead and dive into it for today with this article here from Yahoo Finance. They say, Social Security to see $2,400 Bernie bump under proposed plan. As a quote, "It's what the American people want. Do you qualify?" So, tens of millions of Americans could face an automatic benefit cut when the Social Security Trust Fund runs out by 2032, according to the Social Security Board of Trustees. This crisis can be averted, but only if Congress acts to reform the system. So, right now, Senator Bernie Sanders has proposed a reform that could not only avert the funding cliff, but also help increase benefits by $2,400 a year and expand cost of living adjustments, according to a recent open letter to his Democratic colleagues. That's an additional $200 a month in average benefits, instead of the 22% cut forecasted by the trustees if Congress does not act. So once again, originally proposed back in February of 2025, the Social Security Expansion Act would add an additional revenue to the program by simply extending payroll taxes on wages, salaries, and self-employment earnings to income above $250,000 per year. In 2026, the maximum amount of annual earnings that are subject to payroll taxes is $184,500, according to the Social Security Administration. That cap means if you're a nurse or if you're a construction worker, you're paying Social Security on 100% of your income. Elizabeth Warren said during a congressional hearing on Social Security sovereignty in August, but if you're a corporate lawyer raking in millions of dollars, you're only paying Social Security on a tiny little fraction of your income. That is not right. So again, you take like a professional athlete for example, who might be earning $30 million per year if you're very good at what you're doing. On that $30 million that you're earning on an annual basis, you're only going to be taxed on $184,500 of your earnings that go into Social Security. Now, of course, on the full $30 million that you're earning, you're going to be paying federal income tax on that in a very high percentage. And you're also going to be paying into Medicare on that. You're also going to be paying, state tax if you live in a state that has income tax. So of course, you're still going to be taxed a lot of money, but you're going to be avoiding that 6.22% that gets pushed into the Social Security Trust Fund, and of course, that's one of the reasons for insolvency, on top of the other problems, rates more people now receiving Social Security than ever before. So at a time, we have more people receiving Social Security than ever before, with the baby boomer generation, that to start retiring and receiving Social Security benefits. At the same time, we have fewer young bursts, and because of that, of course, at the same time, we also have fewer younger workers. So, we have less money flowing into the same time more people are collecting benefits. Of course, that is a recipe for disaster. And now, they go on here say that eliminating this tax cap, according to an estimate by the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, would address roughly 73% of the Social Security program's long-run funding shortfall. In other words, 3/4 of the gap can be filled by simply imposing the same payroll tax rate on high-income earners as ordinary Americans. Unfortunately, though, Sanders' solution has a 0% chance of passing under the current Republican-controlled Congress. According to Governor, with the path to Social Security reform uncertain as ever, now is the time to prepare your finances for any future changes to the program. Now, even though Republican lawmakers aren't necessarily in agreement with this idea of taxing those earning above $250,000 per year, an additional 6.2 to 12.4% on top of what they're already being taxed. If you ask the voters, if you ask the American people on both, the left as well as the right as well as in the center independents, they all agree that this is something that should happen. So, according to recent data from Data Buyer from Data for Progress, first off, if you're asked the question about the bill that would increase benefits for all recipients by $2,400 per year, this would be paid for by increasing taxes on wealthy Americans are asked, do you support or oppose the Social Security Expansion Act? Out of all likely voters, this combines everyone. 47% strongly support it, 31% somewhat support it. If you add that up, that comes to 78% of all likely voters either strongly supporting this bill or somewhat supporting this bill. Then we break it down by party. 62% of Democrats strongly support it. 23% somewhat support it. If you add that up, that comes to 85% of Democrats supporting this bill. As far as independent or third party go, if you add up the strong we support plus the somewhat support, that totals to 75%. So 75% of third party voters or independent voters support this idea. And finally, even Republican voters, 72% of Republican voters currently support that declining birth Social Security Expansion Act. Now, another question that was pled by Data for Corrupt for Progress. They said some members of Congress are considering imposing payroll taxes on Americans making more than $250,000 a year as part of their plan to pay for new expanded Social Security benefits. Do you support or do you oppose this proposal? Now, out of all likely voters, 73% of this idea, so that includes, of course, Democrats, Republicans, as well as independents. Democrats, of course, are the biggest supporters of this idea. We have 56% strongly supporting it, 32% somewhat supporting it. That, of course, totals 88% of Democrats supporting a tax hike on the wealthy. Then you look at independent and third-party clear-throat voters. You're getting 69% of voters who are independents or third-party, either a strong weight or somewhat supporting this idea. And then finally, even out of Republican voters, you're looking at them, they have 60% of Republican voters are supporting expanding Social Security benefits, in doing so by increasing taxes on those earning more than $250,000 per year. So even though Democratic voters are one of the ones who definitely by far support this idea the most, even Republican voters, 60% plus of Republican voters are supporting this idea. Now the ones who have actually been elected and gone to DC are pretty much firmly against this idea. We recently had a Republican senator in the state of Ohio, and Bernie Moreno. He came out and he actually approved of the idea to increase taxes on the wealthy. So we do have, one Republican senator there, maybe a couple others, but for this idea to, realistically has to take place, there's going to have to be more Republican lawmakers in DC supportive of this idea. And again, even though you're only paying taxes on the first $184,500 that you earn, there's definitely other taxes that the wealthy are paying, or at least some of them that are wage earners. There are some, of course, that are very, very wealthy, that have these different tricks to get by without paying as much taxes as what they would ordinarily have to, because they borrow against if they ever have to, for example, make a big purchase. They actually end up taking out a loan, and they kind of make it, so their income is a little bit less. They receive like stocks and stuff like that rather than earn income. So obviously, there are some loopholes there where they're paying less taxes than what they should. But again, we'll have to wait and see whether or not this actually has a chance of passing later on this year. Right now, I would say a very slim chance, because we just don't have as much support from Republicans either in the Senate or the House. And even when, Democrats had the majority in both the House and Senate, we didn't even see them voting on this bill. So, it's really hard saying how much, Democrats actually want this bill to happen either. But again, we will have to wait and see. But with that said, leave your thoughts and comments below. What do you think about these Social Security expansion acts? Is it something that you would be behind? Something that you're against? Leave your thoughts and comments below. But that's all I have for today's video. And as always, I will see you in the next